We played a demo of Warhammer 40,000, Boltgun, a vicious and gory vintage shooter that causes rivers of blood to pour. Over the years, it has become increasingly incorrect, or at the very least imprecise, to speak of the video game industry as a single and cohesive superentity, where it is now split into 1,000 parts and hosts the most desperate trends, some of which are in open opposition to one another and others that are almost paradoxical in their radical nature. For example, some medium-large publishers have recently recognized the existence of a large number of gamers eager for first-person shooters that dynamically and technologically refer to classics such as Doom, Quake, or Duke Nukem 3D, because they are regarded as beacons of the genre's golden age, harbingers of experiences that, without too many frills, can bring back to the screen the anarchic and furious violence that characterized them. Critical and public successes such as Dusk by David Szymanski, one of the masters of the new school of retro FPS, Ion Fury by Voidpoint, and Ultra Kill by Arsi Patala, to name a few, must not have gone unnoticed, so much so that the number of retro FPSs, or boomer shooters as they are known in the jargon, arriving in the coming months is multiplying, thanks in part to technological. As a result, Focus Entertainment decided to give it a shot with Warhammer 40,000, Boltgun, a first-person shooter created by Auroch Digital utilizing Unreal Engine and set in Games Workshop's sci-fi setting. The Warhammer 40,000, Boltgun demo included 3 levels in addition to the instructional. As an experienced Space Marine, we've dealt a lot of death and destruction among the heretics, spilling incredible amounts of blood that we haven't seen in a shooter in a long time. We obviously did it to please the Emperor. After all, the Chaos Space Marines are always looking for it, with their always shiny dark armor and the arrogance typical of men who believe they have discovered who knows what truth and then end up joining up with Toad's spray venom. What do you want to say to a scumbag like that? After arguing with a bolt gun, it's better to let a chain's word do the talking. In that way, Warhammer 40,000, Boltgun was almost life-giving in its directness. Following the aforementioned tutorial, which taught us the fundamentals of the game, he quickly plunged us into the thick of things by purifying a few heretics in an enemy bastion where we had to navigate difficult routes and platforms built around some massive cannons. Then we entered a temple where the odor of blasphemy was inextricably blended with that of demons. We then plunged into the bowels of this sinister location, where a profane rite was being performed. Finally, we went through a destroyed city where the Empire's opponents had massacred the whole populace, leaving only rubble. We got to use 3 weapons in total, for if we count the chain's word, all of which were more than enough in their own right, the bolt gun, a shotgun, and a plasma cannon. The end result? We can't wait to play the finished product. Warhammer 40,000, Boltgun offers game characteristics that are similar to the classics discussed earlier in the article, but with less surprises. The maps are vast labyrinths filled with stuff to acquire, such as ammunition, medkits, armor plates, extra guns, grenades, and so on. In any event, it is instantly evident that the game's concentration is on shooting rather than exploring, despite the availability of many mysteries in each level and the necessity to recover as much resources as possible to recover from fights. The developers wisely put a huge number of very weak adversaries in the early stages, allowing you to quickly experience a good rain of blood. Eliminating them is extremely tasty, assuming that the most direct way is preferred. With the player alternating assaults from range to others with a white weapon, the map truly fills up with blood. They are based on a system that intelligently allows you to block shots on targets by pressing a button, so that they always go to the target, before allowing you to rage by repeatedly pressing the attack button, as if you were holding a chain sword and the player's actions replicated the act and labor of sawing an enemy in half. The ranged weaponry are also very delectable, and it's not unpleasant at all to see foes explode in pixelated blood fountains as we batter them with bullets. That being said, don't expect Warhammer 40,000, Boltgun to be simple, because it isn't. Specifically, the first level of the trial version ran smoothly. We played it on the 3rd of 4 difficulty levels, and appears to be designed to give the player a sense of omnipotence, transporting him into the mind of a space marine exalted ready to do anything to eradicate heresy while simultaneously satisfying his bloodlust. Tech-wise, Warhammer 40,000, Boltgun employs the Unreal Engine to emulate previous graphical engines. So the game world is entirely in 3D, but the textures are low resolution, the pixels are clearly visible on the screen, the details are limited, and the adversaries are 2D sprites that are always oriented towards the player's point of view. The engineers were able to ensure a very rapid and fluid action even on systems that were not quite performing, as well as gratifying the taste of individuals who were looking for this type of aesthetic experience. After all, there is a reason they are referred to as boomer shooters. The presence of the aforementioned secrets, as well as the summary screen at the end of each level that tells us how many enemies we have killed, how long it took us to get to the bottom, and other statistics about our match, are all references to genre classics. Even the levels themselves, with their very abstract nature, harken back to the way they were imagined in the 1990s. So everything looks to be functional to the shootings, with the narrative component pushed to the sidelines, drowned out by the blood spilt in forgiveness of the universe's sins. We'll have to wait and see if the balance shifts in the final edition.